Hi, beauties. Welcome to Lighthouse Affects. I'm grateful to be with you this evening. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Oh my goodness. So tonight, I just wanted to, I have a kid that isn't feeling well, so I'm going to go through and give a couple of quick ideas here, and then I'm going to go take care of a child. So I just wanted to welcome, hi, beautiful. I just wanted to welcome relaxing your jaw tonight, relaxing behind your eyes, softening behind your eyes, relaxing behind the shoulder blades, relaxing around the clavicle area. And I'm just welcoming in. I know that a lot of people throughout the world have family in different countries, and it seems like in the different countries of the people that I've been talking to, what's going on in the United States kind of feels like it's going on all over the place. So I just wanted to give one quick example of something that I saw a while ago. And this is regarding self-care, what can you do specifically for self-care this week? First of all, hi, you're welcome to drop in the comments section and with any songs or areas that you're stuck in your life that maybe you'd like some reimagining around or some perspective around. But maybe it's not about fixing this week or next week or within the next few months. Maybe it's just, how the hell do you hang on to this ride that we're all on and that we're all going through together? Because it's strong. I'd like a raise of hands for anybody who's truly gone through a tough time before, like a really tough time, tough marriages, tough in relationships, and not outside of, not like just societal, what was going on in society, but what had gone on internally in relationships. After being married and being around married people for an extensive period of time, I've seen a lot of rough patches, and I've been through a rough patch. Stephen moved out at one point for almost a year in order to really better understand himself. And it was right around Christmas. And I just remember thinking ahead of time, I remember oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Remember that. And I know that quite a few people that I've been speaking to recently are just feeling this undercurrent of trepidation, of fear. So I just wanted to take a few moments to express and say, I'm really grateful that you're here. And I see the courage that it takes to wake up every day, this whole year, just to wake up, just to be even on the outskirts of what life is looking like these days. So that's why, for me, I have to become even more vigilant. Some days I'm like, yeah, screw it. I don't even care anymore. But then there's other days that I really, the screw it days, throw a wobbly. A wobbly is where you just go, mostly on my bed in the quiet, or I'll put on really loud music and be like, ah, and yell really loud or screaming at my pillow. So those are a few of the angst things. This is major self-care. Take notes. Major self-care. So what are the ideas that you can bring forth for self-care, and set them up now? Because we know that something is right around the corner, whatever it is. I'm pretty, I'm kind of off the beaten track in my life. And I just I'm out in the woods a lot, and I really just spend a lot of time in the woods. And I try to get to a quiet place within myself, because I recognize that if I can bring tranquility and if I can bring a peace of mind to any conversations, then I can hold that space a lot more easily. But if I go out and I'm even if I'm angry, there's a lot of things to be justifiably angry about right now. Equal to that, there's just as many justifiable things to be grateful for. Whoever is left that's breathing today, I just want to congratulate you for a moment in whatever part of your journey that you've gone through up until this point. I see you. I appreciate your being here. I sit on the phone with some of you. I get texts, I get inbox messages. So recognizing that each day as we're going out, even if there's anger, even if there's fear, even if there's sadness, which occurs to me that I didn't exactly like do my bit today about what is Lighthouse Affects. It's bringing emotional literacy back to the population through music. One of the pieces that I've seen and one of the pieces that I recognize in life is when the huge waves, when the huge storms are coming in, what do you do to prepare for this emotionally? And maybe it's, like I was thinking about how even you brace yourself if you see that you're about to be, if you've ever seen anybody in a car accident, a lot of times if they see it's coming, they brace themselves. And then that shocks the body even more instead of being more fluid. At least that's what I've read on the internet. So it could or could not be true. But how are you cumulatively gathering and stocking up emotionally for these next 3 months of your life? So I'm just going to give this little example here because I think it's awesome. Okay. Okay, we're going to start with this. Okay, most people, hopefully you can see that. Most people try to give from this space. Let me know if you've seen this before. Hi, Susan. So most people try to give from this space. And they give, and they give, and they give, and they're drained. Yeah, breathing a lot. So this is just depletion, right? They're like, hey, can you help me out? And the person usually doesn't have enough resources themselves, but they don't want to say no to people because we have this, like if you grew up like me, it wasn't okay to just say no to people. You had to have excuses and reasons, and they couldn't even there was like a really polite society where you couldn't even just tell the person on the phone that you weren't interested in whatever they were selling. There was an entire like rigmarole of no, we can't, whatever the story was. Okay, so we get to this place and we're giving and we're giving and we're giving, and pretty soon there's not, we're just giving from this and it's depleting quickly. And then we go out and we're like, I'm exhausted. Let me just fill up a little bit and then I'll be able to give. And yeah. Thank you, Susan. So people start giving from here, right? They're like, okay, now I can give. Now I can do it. There's these 12 areas of life that we kind of have the availability in order to expand with. And so our friendships, there's our working relationships, there's if you're a parent or if you're a child and your sibling, your family relationships. So there's all of these relationships. There's your financials, and in each one of them you have this availability, right? And most of us were never taught to give from more than around here. And sometimes people are exhausted and they're like, I don't understand why I'm so tired all the time. I'm just so wiped out, and they're giving from here, from even less. And that is what I consider is what creates the martyr syndrome, where they're like, oh no, you go ahead. I remember my mother doing that and my father doing that a lot with all the children. They were lucky if they got Christmas socks or clean underwear. Well, you couldn't give dirty underwear, but giving out underwear for Christmas presents, it's like, oh, what a joy. And it is a joy. It can be a true joy if you learn how to really come from a place of less is more. So I'm going to replace this cup. And I'm going to show you what I think society is working on these days. A much smaller container. Because it isn't necessarily the outside world that will be filling us for the rest of the year. Right? I mean, it was wonderful at one point for some people, and all of those outside things trying to give us pleasure, trying to like uh, maybe show us other pathways or at least get our brain active in other areas, but that's not happening this year. Thank you, Susan. Lovely to have you here. So this is what I was thinking of this year. So people are here. Some people aren't even that far, right? We have a much smaller container that we're operating with, and some people are right there. And they're like, oh, I could give you a little bit. And then they're exhausted. Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's relationships. Oh, P.S. This is a really bad year to break up with people. If you're going to break up, wait for like next year. Yeah, that's a little bit of like people tell me, oh, I'm having a really rough relationship. I'm like, yeah, everybody's having a little. You know what? Give it till next year. Maybe we'll see how we're doing next year. If your partner's still alive by next year, then kudos to you. I think that should count for like 6 years. So when people ask you how long you've been together, you can say, we've been together like 50 years, and it could only be like 2. So this is like dog years that we're going through right now. Okay, so we're here, right? Just a little bit left. I love that watermelon color. Okay. So the idea is that over these next weeks, I'd like you to think about what are some of your precious needs that could be met. And what are some of the foundational areas of your life that you could start filling your life? Because if the road is as rocky as what people are talking about, even if it's just in their own minds, they're coming to the table depleted. So I want you to consider this when you're out on the roads, if you're allowed to go out on the roads. In general, the interface with humanity over these coming months. Most people will be giving from here or less. So it's up to each of us to start figuring out how do we fill this, and then how do we start giving from here. This is where we're meant to give from. So that's why we're picking much smaller containers to hold everything these days. Da, 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 da. So where are you giving from? And do you have anything left to give? It's really good. I would really encourage, like, from starting this week, if you haven't started this before, some kind of oxygen practice where you're going out and you're getting and gaining some oxygen throughout the day. A friend of mine, Tamara, has her alarm set, and about every hour, she has like breathe for 1 minute, like make sure that you're getting that oxygen into your lower body for 1 minute. Stick out your tongue, shake it off, maybe twice a day. That's just one tiny little thing that you could do over these coming weeks in order to even get to a baseline. And believe me, I know, I hear you. I hear for so many people that it's really scary, the amount of people that have passed away around them. Yes, all of that. I personally will be looking for more ways to just deepen my gratitude. I've been putting together prayer lists for people. And so like I'm just spending my mornings in gratitude and prayers for people. And that doesn't work for everybody, but that is one of the things that I do in order to find some groundedness just to begin my day. Because the truth is, for me, that I've known many miserable people throughout my entire life. Their life could be like ultimate perfect, right? Touring musicians, like what do you, or like multimillionaires. A friend of mine was a billionaire out in California. I knew a lot of wealthy people, completely miserable. Not all of them, but a lot of them were really miserable. I'm like, so what I started to recognize was the misery is in here, right? It's not in these fill up places. It's not in give me some more of this. And people know this, but I think it's just good to remind ourselves we're going for the long haul. And in the long haul, it's not supposed to be like this long fist fight, see who's dead by the end of it. What we're supposed to do is recognize ahead of time what's dying within society, what needs to be released in society, and what needs to be transformed within society. But how do we do that with maximum grace attached to it? Right? I come from a big Irish family. It's like, it's the last person standing. And the most like punishment that like, how can I guilt them into it? Or how can I make sure that I'm not going to forgive people? Right? And carrying that. It's big. Holding that space with people. And the opposite of that, right? The opposite of that bitterness, of that like, the complete opposite direction is vulnerability. And people don't want to be vulnerable because they're like, I'm not good at vulnerable, right? It does take training. And you actually have to create a community around you that it's to be vulnerable with. Because if you de-armor, if you start taking off that armor, then all of a sudden, if you're just surrounded by a community of people who are just going to beat the heck out of you emotionally the moment that you show up in tenderness, that's not going to fare well for you. Your whole nervous system will be like, we're never doing that again. And so it actually takes practice. So I'm welcoming you in these next months to start looking at what have you created in your life, and where are you creating opportunities just on the smallest scale in order to start looking at nourishment in your life. And what better environment to do it than a highly toxic environment? A lot of wounded walking right now. And getting into our groundedness and getting back into, wow, I see that you're hurting. I see that this is really challenging for you. Thank you so much for allowing me into the space with you for a few minutes. Let's just breathe. Let's just bring back some oxygen, like level 1. So there we go. Susan, so beautiful to connect with you tonight. What fills me up? Nature for me. I'll write that down. Hey, thanks, Jack. Nature. Yeah, I would say nature definitely is nourishing for me. Petting my dog. I noticed I just swallowed really hard there because when I pet my dog, I usually get a lot of drool all over me. So it's like a 50-50. He's like really cuddly, but he's a really big Newfoundland. So it's really worth it when I'm not really worried about the clothing I have on, which isn't very often. Well, I have clothing on often, but it isn't very often that I'm too worried about the clothing. The other piece that really fills me, music. I love starting my day with music. As a musician, Stephen and I are building this recording studio here, and I am completely filled. Like I can get 2 songs in. It could be the worst day ever, and 2 songs in, and I'm like, this is amazing. I love this place. I was just listening to John Coltrane. I was just listening to. I was looking at my brother, and then I was like, I was just listening to Coltrane today, and like within a few minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm moving, and I can feel it all throughout my body. And then my sister-in-law came over, and we were listening to ABBA, and she's singing in the other room. So those are quick little shifts for me. So what is it that you can do, especially now, in order to move like beyond the state of misery? I actually wrote this. I'm going to see if I can find it. There was, I'll have to find it. It was really funny. I had this idea of growth, like how people could move from one area into the next, into the next. Hi, Miriam. Oh my goodness, my birth name is Miriam. Beautiful to see you on here. So anyway, so I had this, I'll do that one. Dogs are fun. Cats can be fun too, but usually the cat just puts his butt in my face and I'm never quite sure what that means exactly. And I'm like, this doesn't seem very respectful. What do I know? I'm not a cat. And they're licking their paws and they're like, scratch my butt for me. You know, like it reminds me of people I dated. I'm just not into that. Anyway, sidetracked. So I put together this timeline because I'm offering these courses now for emotional health. And on the timeline, I was thinking about like, I can't nobody can guarantee another person's happiness. If you practice enough, you might be able to get like past the toilet bowl into slighter stages of misery, not quite as mean on some days, like this whole timeline of moving from like that just into like you don't ever quite, some people never quite get here, right? But they are able to transform a little bit and at least say, oh, wow, I'm not quite as miserable today. Thank you. So what are your key pieces in order to, yeah, it is a sweet relief. So what are your key pieces? I would love to know and have ongoing conversations around what is the music that we can bring to the table? Because music and mathematics are like the two pieces of information worldwide that could actually unify people. Like if everybody just started talking via, I know that not everybody's a math nut. I really like mathematics, but math is music. So in that way, they kind of correlate. Again, I get sidetracked. So what songs are they over these coming weeks and over these coming months that really move you? That's what I'd really love to hear. I might go and take care of a teenager for the evening because that's what I do. Sometimes that's what I do. It's really wonderful connecting with each of you. I'm praying for this week ahead. Who knows what's going to happen, but I know that for me, I'm going to really start to get centered within myself because in the end, it isn't about the politicians at all. They could be there, they could not be there. What's important is how we treat each other and how we treat ourselves. And learning to lean in instead of pull away from people and learning how to get curious with maximum grace. Really, that's why we're here on this journey together. And we have a lot to figure out together. So I'm praying for all of you. I'm praying for the world. And I wish you the very best in your week to come. Whatever that looks like, small containers. I'm not asking for anything big in the coming weeks. Think tiny, little, easily achieved. Like if you make it out of bed this next week, A+ for you. If you don't make it out of bed this next week, A+ for you. Whatever it's going to look like for you, I'm rooting for you and your team. Sending lots of appreciation and adoration. Arigato. Blessings to you. Bye, everybody. Good night.